Welcome to Pluribussin, the officially unofficial podcast for Pluribus on Apple TV Plus. I'm Jim,
I'm Aaron.
and today we're talking season 1, episode 1. It's the premiere, Aaron. The only question that we really need to answer at this point is, what do you think of the show?
I was really impressed and I loved it because if you listen to the preview, there's a lot of things. It's like, hive mind stuff, this, hive mind stuff, that. But I wanted to look at other ways to look at that because I think there's a visceral, especially, I guess, maybe Western civilization / distinctly American that's just horrified by the idea of losing your individuality or maybe sharing it with other people. But it's a science fiction concept that a lot of times we're confronted with. It's like, well, what if that would be better? It can't be better, but what if it is? And I was hoping that they would get to that, and by God, they got to it. And I'm sure it's going to be a continuing debate in the first 2 episodes. And the amount of this just gives me a lot of, leftovers feelings too, and the just prestige sci-fi, which they like all the mystery type questions, like what is this? Where did it come from? How does it work? That shit's all pretty much dealt with at the end of the first episode. So now we can just deal, and I can't even say the societal fallout. We can talk about the individual fallout of these 12 holdouts. There's an obvious weapon to use against the happy people too, but it comes at great cost. Ray Seahorn is completely magnetic. When I was talking about, I kind of had a hard time, especially with season 4 of Better Call Saul, because of how stately the pacing was on some of the stuff and some of the plots I didn't care so much about. But that same stately pace when it's on something that I'm super intrigued by is just really watchable. And Ray Seahorn is really watchable. Just seeing her kind of lose her shit, her explode from the bottom of a pile of pillows. Just her. I love like when she loses her shit at the acting president or the Department of Agriculture guy, and she's like, "Well, what's up with all the people doing and look?" She's just gesturing and doing all this stuff because that's exactly what you would be like if something like this happened. And it's just Vince Gilligan is a master at pacing, at dialogue, at characterization, at very precise technical filmmaking, which he uses to great effect at scenes, which I'm going to call scenes of horrifying precision or synchronicity. He's been leveling up ever since X-Files, and now we got this. What did you think, though, Jim?
I agree. I mean, this is potentially could become my new favorite show. Right now, I would have to say that's probably Severance as far as like stuff that's on the air. Severance might top the list right now, but Severance has a way of playing with cards face down that doesn't feel quite as good as what Vince Gilligan does, which is play with everything face up. Like,
right.
There is never a real mystery here that he's not willing to just give you the details of, assuming the character will ask. And that's what it is. It's all filtered through the characters. It's not mystery for mystery's sake. It's like, would this character ask this question in this moment? If no, then we're going to let that information be a little bit longer. But eventually, it feels like this character is going to come to appreciate the scenario that she's in and the question she needs to ask, and then we will get the information we need. And that just feels so good. It doesn't feel like I'm being not tricked, but I'm led along at the pace that the showrunner wants me to. It's more like I'm just there with the character asking these questions.
Yeah, there's some, I guess, a magic show and a character study. Both are entertaining in their own way, but there's a lot of misdirection. And look at the pretty lady, and look at the dancing napkin, or it's not a napkin, pocket handkerchief.
Sure.
And I feel like this show seems to, in its early stage, share a lot of DNA or RNA, more with the leftovers than it does with things like, as you mentioned, Severance, Westworld, where there's definitely character and the reaction of people to things is a big thing, but also like what the hell is going on is a constant big question. And here it's like that's just completely defanged. And it's defanged in a weird way because they just gave us the answer. It comes from outer space. It's 600 light years away. It's an RNA virus, and it's an intentional act on the creators to spread their gospel throughout the galaxy. And now it's just like, well, what is the character going to do about it? How is the character going to, like, how do you live as an individual in this world? Can you? What happens when they find out how to fix you?
And just like the questions of, is this a better way to be? Should I give in to this, or should I try to maintain the status quo, the thing that I've always been comfortable in? Or in her case, not even comfortable in. That's the interesting thing, is she's defending something that has quite frankly made her miserable. And we'll see how long that holds up.
And it's interesting because, like, what's making her miserable is, like, the mask that she's holding up, her public face, that she is putting to market this thing. Like, if, you know, like all the, maybe if she told the, I don't know, the winds of Wyvern, I can't remember exactly what it is. If she told that from Wicaro, if she told that from a more authentic place, and it was like a lesbian pirate romance, and she didn't have to do a whole bunch of heteronormative stuff, like maybe she would be genuinely happy, and maybe she would respect her audience more, but maybe her audience would be a lot smaller, but maybe not. I just think that's interesting because in a Pluribus world, you would never have the opportunity to have a secret thought about, what if pirate lesbian ladies are sexy? People would just know it, and then you'd know, and I don't know. It's very hard because I'm really curious to see what the general population thinks about this, because there's so many people that have been trained to think of things in terms only of consent, only in terms of like pleasure, freedom, that when you enter a non-human intelligence or presence, all that goes out the window. Like, you know, questions of whether people are consenting to this, all that. It's like, it's not as simple as like, oh, this Alpha Centurion got you drunk and took advantage of you. It's more of like, I don't know. But that has to be, because obviously if you just say, well, if you don't respect consent, then like these people are evil. And they did an evil thing. Sure. Even if it leads to benefit, the fact that you didn't get their consent and their buy-in to it is just wrong. And as a human, as an individual human, that's kind of my prejudice, but I'm going to try really hard to be open to the collective. Like that young woman that wants to, she got the urge to merge. Doesn't want to be left behind.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to stay open-minded on both sides of this, because I think there's, you know, the peace and the comfort that you get from being part of that group might be something that you would want, but there are downsides as well. I mean, they talk about how the individuality of each human is now part of a whole, and that's great, that individuality is preserved. However, no new individuality can ever be created. You can never have an individual or differing thought from someone. And so you're kind of stuck in a permanent stagnation in a way. And that can be its own problem.
Right. And that's something that I know you and I both like, Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time series. It's something he explores in the later volumes of that. Like, you know, like these collective hive minds. What happens if you hive mind the entire galaxy? You know?
Sure.
And especially because they were doing it in kind of like a sense of it. Every time they got into a new life form, it was in a big adventure. They get all these new things to explore. But if they take over everything, then there'll be nothing new. And I guess it's kind of like what we're going through with AI, these large models, is we're already seeing instances where the AI models start feeding on themselves and getting more and more deranged, and the art is worse. And because again, they're not doing anything creative. They're just remixing all the creativity that comes to humans. And once you take that out of the equation, you're never going to get more than derivations of the original, copies of the copy. I'm not saying ever,
what's even the incentive to create art when you're a hive mind? Right. Because art is usually there to say something to someone else. If you can say that without the art, what's the point?
Yeah. And there's also like the fact you can't, I think, you know, if we want to talk about consent is nothing if it's not informed. And how could you possibly say? It'd be like if an angel came down today and said, I'm going to kill you right now and take you to the right hand of God. Okay, well, what's that like? Oh, it's his bliss. It's infinite bliss. Okay, but what if I don't like it? Well, you will, I promise. It's like you can't reverse it. And there is a line I love from Ray in the second episode where she's talking about I'm smart enough not to take a drug dealer's word on what heroin's like.
Yeah.
Again, like that's the thing. It's like I'm trying to be flexible and I'm trying to look at things from the pluribus perspective, but it's just scary that it's a one-way street that people can't sign up or sign off on. And are you genuinely happy? Maybe, but how would you know? Can you trust the people who have been infected to tell you? I don't think so.
Yeah. No, there are so many questions the show raises with its singular premise, and that's the hallmark of really good sci-fi for me, is just change,
100%.
tweak a thing, and see how the changes ripple out from there. And boy, does this show have a lot of potential there.
It's going to have ripples like the theme screen, intro screen, where the pluribus is kind of broadcasting through medium and sending ripples and propagating waves. Very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it looks exactly like a Vince Gilligan. The dark darks, the light lights, the chorus quati type sped up animation sequences, the odd camera angles, the deliberate slow pacing of certain actions to kind of build suspense and intrigue. Ray Seahorn, Wayfarer flights. I was really there's a pizza delivery boy that gets co-opted early, and I'm like, oh, is that the little? What's the flooded Italian town?
Venice.
With canals. Venice. I think the little Venice, like, is it the shop that doesn't cut their pizzas? And no, it's some other thing. But like there's a lot of recognizable kind of Albuquerque stuff in here too, which obviously is going to be fun too.
Oh yeah.
Well, unless you have some more preamble that you want to talk about, maybe we should get right into the first episode.
Let's do it.
We open 439 days ago at the Very Large Array telescope installation in New Mexico. Scientists from SETI have picked up a very promising repeating signal emanating from a star system 600 light years away. Some time is spent verifying and translating the signal, which ultimately leads us to a lab with the U.S. Army Military Research Institute of Infectious Diseases. But like Vince Gilligan, let's not rush. Let's smell the flowers. Let's take some time with these scientists.
It's another Gilliganism at the very beginning of this show, where he starts off with a vehicle rushing down a dirt road. If a pair of underwear or a pair of pants was hanging from the rear view mirror, it would have been like obvious, but
you would see it. You would see the signal drifting through the atmosphere like underwear, but we just can't see in that frequency. I did not know that the Very Large Array was in New Mexico, and I thought, because it's if you've ever seen anything where they're trying to contact aliens. Or they're trying to do, you always see, because it's such a fucking cool installation. It's got 20 of these 90-foot wide dishes that all can target the same, and they're on train tracks so they can expand, contract to get higher resolution or higher gain. And it just looks like, now that the big dish in South America after James Bond blew that up, it's like kind of like the last thing that looks like, oh yeah, you could talk to ET with this, and it looks great. It looks great. It looks great at night, lit up.
Hell yeah, I love some of these moments of levity that he's got, where we're just kind of settling in, and he's putting more and more people into this trailer as they try and figure out more and more what the signal's about.
It's science, right? It's like, and I like that everyone that comes in is not like a moon-eyed believer, but they're like, I can't. It's got to be bouncing off the moon. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. It's got to be anything but aliens, because of course it's not a fucking alien.
Of course,
and you want your SETI people to be doing that.
Oh yeah.
But there's I guess a lot. I looked into this because periodically I get interested in SETI, and the show's kind of obviously driving me to that. Where they're talking about the what is it? It's the drop off. The hold on a second. They actually the drifting. They said look at the drift, and that is, I guess that's how they scientists isolate signals that come from Earth. Because everything that comes from Earth originates in a very consistent space in terms of outer space. Like the Earth is a very finite part, and geosynchronous satellites and things bouncing from the moon. Like you can tell from the trigonometry of all that it's eventually very close. But something that is 600 light years away is going to be unmistakably that, and something this regular and this repeating. How long? I'll ask a question. How long did you take to realize that it was DNA?
Definitely before they said it. Not immediately when we saw the 4 channels of this come through, but pretty close.
Yeah, I made it. I think I made the realization at the exact same time the guy throwing a football did, where it's like it can't be quaternary. But it's 4, and I'm like, oh, DNA. Boom, 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 boom. Thanks,
Sure.
Jurassic Park, for doing heavy lifting for my high school biology, because I don't think I'd know that if it wasn't for Jurassic Park. So anything else to say about the scientist portion?
Nope.
Let me ask you this before we move on, because if we're going to make a big deal about the consent of the aliens and whether they got it from people, what do you make of the United States government? And I don't know, maybe other governments around the world were involved in this too, but what do you think of their decision to decode this alien DNA and start experimenting on subjects without bringing it to the world's attention?
It sounds about right to me, but I do find it hard to believe that it wouldn't leak is the thing. And whether they would be believed or not, I don't know. But I feel like these scientists are the people, watching the skies are the type of people who might want that information to be distributed, not hoarded.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, I was like, well, the leaks are explained because the pluribi are not going to leak. But I'm like, oh, you're right. They've got like dozens of scientists that would have been, and they probably had opinions on whether we should immediately sequence this or whether, hey, we should try. But that again is, if you're going to be pissed at the aliens for not getting the consent of us to do this experiment, then you've got to extra blame the humans that decided to go full steam with this, because if you take the aliens at their word, it's a biological impulse for them. They don't have a choice to do. It's like breathing. But obviously people could. People could say, hey, press conference for the whole world. We got this thing. What should we do with it? What measures should we take? Da 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 da. That's interesting. 71 days ago, people are sequencing and synthesizing and CRISPRing all kinds of biological stuff in petri dishes and monkeys and lemurs and rats. And simultaneous. Wait, go ahead. And wait a second. Sorry. And simultaneously, we meet Carol and her wife / manager, I think, Helen, on a book tour from her latest bodice ripper, The Blood Song of Waikaro. She seemed unhappy with her lot in life.
Yeah, these scenes of, culturing and whatever they're doing here with this virus, sequencing these DNA strands, it's so much plays to Villigan's strengths, right? Like he loves to do, as we've seen with, the crystal blue persuasion montages in Breaking Bad, he loves to do these montages. He loves the precision of the science, and even more so, like after we get to the part where everybody is in a hive mind, there it really shines, because everyone would be in perfect synchronicity. And he could just film it,
Yeah, and it's like a ballet to him, and it's that's the thing. It's like anyone that's watched like a How Things Get Made video when you're high knows that there's a certain kind of mesmerism, and the colors of the vials swirling around and the plastics melting, and it's visually interesting to see something being made and assembled or coming together. even when it's weirdo aliens doing it. So Carol, like I said, this is the thing that I didn't understand until I came to appreciate her relationship with Helen. That I don't think she's upset so much that she's writing bodice rippers. She's upset because she's writing something that's inauthentic to her experience, and she's writing to an audience that she doesn't quite connect with, and that makes her resentful. It's not so much that these are, or maybe that's the thing, is like once she starts like, I'm just going to write heteronormative crap shit. I don't have to worry about like what a real woman's thinking. I'll just put whatever, I've read a bunch of books with Fabio on the cover. Because that was the big question. I was like, it's really hard to feel sorry for a wealthy entertainer.
Yeah, they point that out too.
Yeah. But it's like
all this money.
But I thought the private life that she's trying to maintain for herself, like I thought that was kind of like an interesting way to make her miserable, even though she should be happy.
Yeah, and I will say also, they might have oversold the misery of Carol in the promotional materials here. Like calling her the most miserable person in the world, I think is a far cry from what we actually see. She is slightly disappointed that she cannot reveal her true self to the world, yet she's making all this money. She's living in a fancy house. She has what appears to be a healthy and happy relationship. Like, there's nothing about this that says the most miserable woman in the world to me. But
there are some
they're
things
just
on the
selling
edges,
the show.
Though. Like, her vehicle has a mandatory breathalyzer installed on it. Like, I don't think people who drink to the point that they're drinking and driving, and to the point that a court has to step in and say you can't do that anymore, and to the extent that your wife/manager is saying, hey, maybe we should drink Diet Pepsis, and you're like, fuck that, I'm there's some kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, it's like, I don't know if she's the most miserable person in the world, but there's a lot of signs that she's not completely happy either, and it's probably because she's living a double life.
Yeah, I'm not saying she's the happiest person in the world either, but certainly, yeah, that there's a middle ground that they found with this person.
Yeah. And she just like, I think she has contempt for her audience a little bit too.
Oh yeah.
Which is unfortunate, I liked all this, it's sad because we got all this cool sailing terminology. I got a little thrill when she pronounced forecastle focusal. And I liked it when the dude with this the saber came up and said, a two-masted schooner wouldn't have a mizzenmast. And we're not going to get any more of that probably, unless she's going to start sailing the deserts. That's going to be the Pluribus's weaknesses. They can't sail the desert sands of New Mexico.
The sand is just too purple.
So this is the beginning of their tour, 71 days ago. We flash forward to 29 days ago, where lab workers check into the graveyard shift of, again, the U.S. Army's Infectious Disease Research Institute. They're about to euthanize and study the latest rat population that they've tried to culture the extraterrestrial biological data into. But before they can do that, they see that one of the rats is seemingly dead, which they have to investigate. Long story short, rat bites woman, woman kisses man, man kisses another man, and pretty soon we have a huge group of pluribi propagating the alien virus with relentless cheer and efficiency. They just are loving this.
You forgot one step, woman kisses donuts. That was, from the trailers, but in context here, it's quite funny. Especially
since, like, in the trailers, you think that's like, this is patient 0, which it is, but like, the idea that the disease is going to spread through licking donuts, that's just an afterthought,
Yeah.
Like, they are industrial about it. And like you said, Vince Gilligan's love of these montages, this whirling ballet of culturing oral swabs and putting them in petri dishes and shipping them out. It's great.
I would like to think that there are better procedures in place, safety procedures in place, than 2 unattended lab technicians doing experiments in the dead of night. One gets bit, the other feels real bad, and so just foregoes all of the standard quarantining protocols, and suddenly the human race is enslaved. I would like to think that's true, that you can't just do that. But what do I know?
And that's the other thing is like I kind of thought that too. Is like this is a U.S. military installation that's working on this top secret, and maybe that's it that you can only have a couple of people working on it. But those couple of people, like this is Alien Covenant, where you've got these xenobiologists landing on a planet and ripping their helmets off, like
Yeah.
smell those alien spores with both nose holes, you know, like get him in there deep. Like why would this lady take her glove off in this? You know, like this is the super lab. They're all hazmated up, man. They got positive pressure hazmat suits, and she just whips her glove off so she can palpitate a rat's chest.
Yeah, it feels like there needed to be. And look, it's just the inciting incident. I don't really care that much.
Right.
It's getting us to much more interesting material. But also,
yes,
you have a blank slate in front of you. This is how you're going to have it done? I don't know.
Yeah. They mentioned that this is a lysogenic virus, and I didn't know what the hell a lysogenic virus. I'm like, that. Speaking of Jurassic Park, it's got to have something to do with lysine. Maybe it does. I don't know. I didn't get that far, but this is a virus that, after it infects the host cell, integrates its genetic material into the DNA rather than just destroying the cell and taking it over and using it to replicate itself. This allows the DNA to be replicated passively through the splitting of cells, as well as actively from the virus spreading. Examples of lysergic viruses that you might be familiar with: herpes and HIV.
All right.
But hard to avoid the Breaking Bad nod to the super lab here. Two people in these suits. I also with the positive pressure reminded me of the one where Jesse's just fucking around in the lab and he sticks the inflator down his pants and starts doing his
Yep. Great scene.
bunny suit man dance. Yeah, and it's again I watching this happen, you know, this poor security guard get approached by this woman who's going to get way in his personal space, and you know what's happening, and there's a little bit of horror but fascination because it doesn't look like a horrible thing happening other than the grand mal seizure they have while their brains are rebooting.
That's the thing. If I had come into the show knowing absolutely nothing, I think these scenes would have hit a little bit more like they were intended, which is confusion and
Right.
you know, that funny kind of confusion that Vince Gilligan goes for. Like, why these characters are acting so strangely? Why are they doing these things? Where could this possibly be going?
Yeah. And I felt that too, but to be fair, I was thinking the reason they're up doing 2 episodes at once is probably because it's such a slow burn that the infection doesn't even happen until like the final episode of 2, and you got to get an idea of what the show's about. But like, man, we were at there 10 minutes into the episode, so yeah, it was what I was expecting, but also at a rate that I wasn't prepared for. And again, these are what I'm going to call, I think there's a couple hallmarks. These are scenes of chilling precision that and synchronicity that we're going to see. 3 hours ago, Helen and Carol have returned from their whirlwind 1-month book tour of America. They celebrate its conclusion at a bar where Helen seems to have a problem with Carol's drinking. Carol's unhappy that she's peddling lowest common denominator heteronormative tripe to housewives across the country. And Helen encourages her to work on her more serious book, Bitter Chrysalis. She's been working on that for 5 years. The pair go outside to smoke, where Carol notices strange flight patterns in the night sky. Then a man crashes his pickup into a line of parked cars in front of them. When Helen seizes and falls to the ground, Carol expands her search radius to find help until she winds at a local hospital. She passes countless scenes of death and devastation along the way. At the hospital, the entire patient and healthcare worker population are simultaneously seized. Suddenly, they pop out of it and address her by name. Carol, freaked out, jumps back into the truck and drives off with her wife's dead body still in the truck bed. A lot of stuff happens, but like it's a lot of just watching Carol do stuff.
Yeah. And she talks about this other book that she's been wanting to write, something that's more serious, called Bitter Chrysalis. That's kind of, as we'll find out sort of through this episode and the rest of episode 2, that's like I think the book that would have her coming out to her audience, but I'm not certain about that. Maybe it's just something that she wants to try that is more serious in tone and still reveals nothing about herself, which I don't think would make her happy ultimately.
And I do like, because like you can. I was wondering, like, is this book going to secretly be the blueprint to fight back against the Pluribi? Like, because like a bitter chrysalis, I think you're right on that. That's like, okay, she's going to come out. She went in as a caterpillar. She's going to come out a butterfly. There's a transformation there, but also like this is also describes what's happened to the human race. Like, we've transformed into something different. It cost 1 billion lives.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder. I just wonder if we'll know anything more about like are things from the Raban series, from the the bitter chrysalis. Is any of that stuff going to come back into the plot, or did we just establish that Carol's a rich author who's disaffected, and now that's all gone away?
Yeah, the woman playing Helen is credited as a guest star, so that leaves a lot of potential open for her to not appear in future episodes, but also potentially to appear a couple more times, maybe in flashbacks to fill some of this information in. And we know Villigan likes to do flashbacks.
There's also this idea of this Gestalt consciousness that's formed where everyone is psychically linked, but no one's lost their individuality. It's just being shared. So I could also see an instance where maybe she just requests to talk to her wife in some kind of ghoulish necromantic way, and they do some interesting things with, I don't know, either the AI technology we got now, or they do another pirate lady thing where they try to dress up someone that looks as much like her as she can. But I could see something like that happening too.
Yeah. But all these scenes, man. Sorry, go ahead.
Of 7 billion people, I've always wondered, like, if there's someone that looks just like me, it's right. Like a twin that just is a random genetic combination. I've definitely seen people that resemble me. If you're some of our more deluded fans, you might think that what's that guy's name?
David Cross.
You might think David Cross is my biological clone. Jim has Emilio Estevez kicking her ass at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'd be cool too. They just bring her back. It's not the real person, but she's from France and she just happens to really look like her, and it's the same person.
And she could act very much like the same person. They have that experience of hers and all that knowledge. Like, they could essentially recreate her if they wanted.
And I like how it's funny because I feel like Vince has already lied to us in the lead up to the show, which I don't take offense at. But he says this is, when he definitively says, oh, this isn't aliens. It's kind of aliens, right?
Yeah. It's a virus given to us by aliens for us to become them, which I have to assume, even over the 600 light year gap, that their consciousnesses are connected still, right? So we are effectively the alien race now.
I don't know. That's one thing I don't know, because, like, does consciousness propagate faster than light? If it does, then
I can't answer that.
Right? But like, if it does, I assume if it propagates at all, it has to propagate at light speed or below, which is just fine for infecting the planet simultaneously.
Sure, but
it's
600
problematic
light
years. Yeah. And I would think they would know more about the aliens too. Like, they don't know their planet, they don't know what their names are, they don't know anything about the language. It does.
I thought they gave
it's not though. I thought so too until I looked up.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. But we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. We're gonna smell the roses. We're gonna really stop and let the tension build.
Yeah, let's take in some of this action here. This is really freaky when people start, like, as soon as I saw the planes in the sky, I knew it was crop dusting. I knew that they were trying to infect large swaths of people.
The official conspiracy term is contrails, Jim. They're using chemical contrails to turn the frogs gay and to weld us all into psychic glue Gestalt consciousness.
I suppose so. But it was fairly obvious to me. But what wasn't obvious is what effect that would have. And it's pretty freaky when people start just shaking, going into convulsive seizures, and then sort of passing out. And in some cases, dying.
that's the violence inherent in this system, is that
Hmm.
apparently somewhat like 1 out of 8 people are going to die on the planet because, and it's like Helen, like, well, why did she die? I thought that was very realistic because you can easily die from an unprotected head fall like that. She just smashed
Yeah.
back on the concrete, the back of her head, and it killed her.
Huh. I took it that the virus just killed her. Whatever was infecting
Oh,
her, actually,
interesting.
her system couldn't withstand it.
Everyone that I saw dead had a pool of blood under their hair, or like Helen had that bruising under her eyes, implying that there's some kind of internal bleeding, or they wrecked in a
Maybe.
car. I do wonder if, like, yeah, some people. But the thing is like, if how would the aliens know? Because from what I know about the Pluribins, they would not willingly take a life. So if they knew that a side effect of them infecting us was be like 1 out of 8 of us die, or 1 out of 100 even, I don't think they would do it. But
But
then
no,
again, they're also
because it's a
compelled. They
biological
can't
imperative.
not.
Yeah, that
Right.
is the loophole here, and it makes
Right.
you wonder, like, how many species have they sent this signal out to who've received the signal and it's
Yeah.
killed every single one of them because they are
Yeah.
not in any way compatible with this virus. It just eats them alive. They could be committing
Yeah.
mass genocide and not actually know, and then also not be able to stop themselves, even if they cared.
Right. Um, it does have some interesting implications for the galactic biology because whatever planet it comes from has DNA, and it has the exact same like
Right?
acids and nucleoacids that form it. And I guess that's pretty. I guess scientists are warming up to the idea that maybe carbon-based biology with DNA and RNA, that's just the way things will work. Um,
Hmm.
because there's only so many ways you can code information. There's only so many ways you can get proteins created. There's only so many ways that you can have ionic pathways open if you're dealing with organic chemistry. And if you start dealing with like stuff like Star Trek silicone biological chemistry, you start running into real problems with like metabolism and even how you use solvents to transport stuff around the bodies and all that kind of stuff. It might
Really?
be that
Because
just
I
it's carbon everywhere.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm not going to claim to have any knowledge in that regard, and I would go with what the scientific consensus says. But boy, that seems like a limited imagination to me. Like, we know that life organizes itself this way because we've seen these examples of it on our planet. I just don't know that I would extrapolate that to any other systems. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm a
but
life
that's the
finds a
thing.
way
It's
kind of
like
guy.
I think that's true, but like also like my adult life has constantly been like realizing that warp drive probably is not possible. And it's not a failure of imagination; it's a failure of the laws of physics. Now we might
As we
understand things
understand
that
them. Hmm.
supplant them. It's like probably a little too hasty, but it's not the same as people saying, "Well, you can't go faster than 60 miles an hour because people won't be able to breathe." It's like this is at least based on solid fundamental understandings of chemical interactions and all that stuff.
But
But
what if
hey,
that's the level of our understanding as compared to the actual depth of the universe? What if
I'm
we are
saying
at the stage of we can't drive fast because we can't breathe?
any exobiologists want to chime in here and share the good news of cyanobiology or silicon biology or non-organic chemistry. I'm all ears because I think that shit is fascinating. But I think it's more leaning towards it's like a Star Trek panspermia thing where the whole galaxy is roughly seeded with the same kind of life and it's all compatible for some reason. And maybe I don't know. Yeah. Or I guess maybe, yeah, I don't know. Because I was about to say, well, maybe it's a prerequisite of advanced life to be organic, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm right. You're right.
Okay.
I'm just talking out my ass here.
I will say, if we're talking about new life, they really chickened out in this show. There are cowards making this television show because they would not show me this baby in this bassinet, this carriage, whatever it was in. Show me that baby. I want to see that. What is happening to this baby?
Baby, season up, man.
I
Gabba
assume,
gabba
but
goo
I don't
goo.
know, and I want to know.
Right. Also, babies' brains aren't finished cooking. Maybe
Ooh,
like
yeah.
they'll grow up and they'll be pluribus at some point, but they don't even have a consciousness that could be merged. I don't know. That might be controversial. There's another thing I thought that you mentioned a baby because that's the one time I saw Carol care one goddamn about anyone that's not Helen. Like I thought that was an interesting thing that, especially on my subsequent watches, I'm like, oh, they're really making it like Carol cared about the man and like, oh, what's wrong with this dude? But as soon as Helen started season, no one else existed. She's shoving people over at the bar. She's knocking people down. She's commandeering vehicles. And the one time she shows any care for anyone but Helen is when that seizing woman's about to push her baby off of the counter and she stops that. But I think that's deliberate, showing that sometimes, you know, like Carol doesn't give a shit about anyone that she doesn't know. And that's like the opposite end of the spectrum from the Pluribus people.
Yeah, in some ways. I mean, I think that doesn't hold entirely true because there are moments, like you said, with the baby. But the one that sticks out to me more is the one where she's just kind of walking toward this store and she sees that people are seizing up and there's a guy dangling from some like a cherry picker or whatever. And she feels like she has to do something to help.
Yeah. But is that because she knows she caused it?
Maybe.
Like she feels personally responsible, so now it's like, gotta.
But she doesn't really know at that time, does she? She's not sure why
it's
that
something
happened.
I think that could be surmised, or something you could, because I think she puts it together as soon as the pirate lady comes back. It's like, did I do that? You know, so she must have suspected it.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I'm just, I none of this is dialogue. This is just me observing things that I saw in the show.
I think my read on Carol is that she is not a bad person. She's just kind of a sad person, and she's in an extreme circumstance, and she's looking out for herself. She's trying to figure this out. And if she sees something that she thinks is not right or good, she's going to try to put it right. But
yeah,
it's tough because she's just in such a crazy scenario.
Yeah. And I also like this reflection of art, you know, because her manager, because you could see like, hey, I'm a talented writer. I can do all this stuff. But my niche is not really, you know, lesbian pirate erotica is not really popular right now. So I'm going to, and I like her manager, how she talks about like, you know, I read Finnegan's Wake, you know, everyone says that's a great piece of literature. It's like Ulysses or Sound and Fury, all these things. And she's like, and maybe it is, but I hated it.
Yeah.
And if you make at least one person happy, I don't know if that's art, but it's something.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do here at Bald Move. Something.
Yeah. We make at least one person happy.
George Clooney as Raban. I'm with Helen. I think she should have freshed that up a little bit. George Clooney is as your mom's hottie. Ray Seahorn is not old enough to be.
It's Pedro Pascal. I guess. Come on, it's Pedro Pascal.
That'd be a good one. That'd be a good one. I like the idea of like a soccer player with dreads or something. You know, like really, really bring it current. But
there's a couple of shots in here that are really artfully done too, in their, I guess, emotionality. Like that scene where she loads Helen into the truck and she's dying and she's doing CPR on her and the camera's like locked on just Carol's face while she's pressing, and then she eventually stops. She's screaming no, 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 and she falls out of frame and the camera just stays there above what's going on here. Like that, you feel that sense of loss through the framing of the shot, and I thought that was really cool.
I also like, you know, just in terms of the art of it all, how Vince made this really alien landscape and soundscape just out of people seizing. Like the fact that the woman at the microphone is making this
worst band ever, man.
and also it was really funny when the drumstick fell out of the guy's hand and it did like a da-dum as it was falling. I thought that was super funny. But also unnerving. You know, like the soundscape is just the hum of the PA and this woman sighing into the microphone and the jukebox skipping and the beer sloshing from the beer girl's hand. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, you almost could have made this a cold open to the entire series because of how freaky it is and weird.
What if it? I'm gonna argue that this is the cold open for the whole series because you don't get the title card until like 5 minutes into the next episode. So yeah. Right on. Yeah, so I covered that, that it's got to be scary that this whole assembled people at the hospital, they just all take off and into these all directions and another chilling display of precision and synchronicity, but they all address her as one in like one univoice.
Mm-hmm.
Carol, we just want to help.
And then one of them kisses her, or tries to kiss her, which
Yeah.
has to be like the most freaky thing they could do.
Yeah, of all the things
Right.
in like a horror movie you would expect the pod people to do, rush forward and give you a passionate kiss, not one of them.
So let me point this out. Okay. If anybody is like wondering why Carol is not infected, she's immune to whatever virus this is, right? Like,
yes.
The guy kisses her, that would infect anybody else. We've seen it work on other people. She's just straight up immune to this, along with 11 other people, 12.
Yeah.
Now, I guess.
Plus, she's breathed in the spore air that they dropped or whatever. Right. Like, she is absolute immunity, and it lasts for days. So I don't think it's. And I'm taking aliens at their word, or the alien consciousness at the word, that they're going to need some time to figure out.
Yeah.
How to figure that, but they also have the combined genetic knowledge of the entire world. It's like trying to outsmart or out capability the Pluribi is going to be a tall order, man.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is not a super intelligence. It's just a combined straight humanity level intelligence. So the smartest person, I guess, in the world would be like the level of intelligence of this entire us or we.
Right.
But they have the resources and the capabilities of the entire world, so you can move a lot of heaven and earth with that amount of stuff.
Right. And I bet it's decentralized too. It's like, when they're talking about the little kid being a gynecologist, I don't think he has that information in his brain, but it's like, his brain is one hard drive in a mass array that can be accessed instantly.
Yeah.
And he can, someone asked me a gynecology question. Okay, well, paper or plastic, metal or plastic.
Okay.
Go for the paper speculums, ladies.
More environmentally friendly. Yep.
My God. No, I don't want to think about this anymore. Not because I'm grossed out by vaginas, just because it's like this. Yeah, no one wants to hear us free design a cardboard speculum. Let's just move on.
If you want to hear about our cardboard speculums, write in to pluribus@baldmove.com.
Or go to cardboardspeculum.com where we're trying to get this baby off the ground. I was like, she's driving forward. She sees like, there's some things that's like everybody's trying to work together. Like people are rushing to fires with the firefighting equipment they have. There's a person helping someone to a car that's only got one leg. The other leg has been blown off, and they get in, and third person comes up with the detached leg. And like they're trying to do as best they can to make things right instantly. That's their obviously the most important thing to them is to save everyone that can be saved. But
and that's the genius of these early scenes, right? You're used to the pod people coming down and taking over humanity and trying to destroy the resistors, but like
eat your brains or
this is the exact opposite. They come in and they try and fix the problem they created accidentally. Like what is happening? It works so well.
Intergalactic FEMA. They're just rendering aid right. And trying to clean things up. And I also wonder like why do they care about cleaning stuff up just because of like the disease vector of it all? Or like, do they have plans like, why are you taking a Cessna off of a Walmart? Like, who cares? Do they have an aesthetic preference for like order and cleanliness? It doesn't seem like it's a personal preference from some of the way the Pluribi act, but
yeah, this was one of my big questions when we get into episode 2. I'll maybe save it for then because it becomes more relevant. But yes, that was a big question. Why are they trying to clean things up?
Carol, returning to her own home, tries to break in with a rock and eventually does with the help of some pod person children from next door. She watches her neighbors all leave their homes with terrifying, horrific precision and timing. She turns on a TV to find most signals are out except one, a constant video stream from what looks like the White House briefing room where a man in a suit awaits her call. She makes the phone call, and they just want to help her. They want to understand what makes her different, so that eventually she can join them.
All right, I want to institute a new bald move rule, if you'll let me. Bald move rule number 16? I don't know, 16.
Yeah, sure.
Never bring a corpse into your house. I don't care how close to you they are. I don't care how fresh of a corpse or how decayed of a corpse. Corpses do not belong inside. They belong outside.
What if you murdered a vacuum cleaner salesman and you want to drag their body inside to make it some kind of castle doctrine thing? So you can kill the annoying vacuum sweeper, but you don't have to take the fall for it.
Do you live in Florida? Because I suppose that would work. All right, an amendment.
Yeah. Anyway,
never bring a corpse into your house that you did not create.
There you go. I like that. That's a good amendment. It's funny that Carol doesn't remember where she hid the key, which is funny because you think that's stupid, but I actually had one of those fake rocks at my old house. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to put it in the front flower bed. Everybody don't know that. So I kind of hid it at the edge of I fucking lost it. I thought there's no way I'm going to not be able to find this thing. But one winter, a cycle of leaves falling and decaying and all, and it was gone, man. I never found that thing.
Wow. The squirrels got it. They thought it was a nut. And they broke inside it and said, what the hell is this?
A safe place to store nuts. I like how her initial thing is she's barricading herself against the world, right? Like, this is what the proposition is. At least all of Albuquerque is turned against her. So with pillows stuffed into the windows and a 9-iron, she is going to defend her home against these pod people.
Mm-hmm.
Did you call the number?
I did. I called the number. How could I not?
Tell us what happened.
There was a lady who came on and said, spoke to me as if I were Carol, and asked me to join them, and then press 0 to join, I guess, and I did, and now I'm getting text messages from the aliens.
Yeah,
the pod
the
people.
Pluribussin. So nothing much. Like they sent. I did the same thing. They sent me through text a contact card, which is essentially Pluribus with the phone number listed, and they sent me a picture of the poster. I imagine it's going to start popping off now that it's out in the wild. I was talking to our buddy Pete Peppers, and he mentioned that this phone number is also in, I think, the materials that came out of Comic-Con when they released their first teaser trailer. So it's been up since then and apparently inactive. But I'm betting it's going to start pop off, and I'm not sure if it's going to be like a fun alternate reality game, or if it's just going to be drink more Ovaltine, or be sure to watch Pluribus on Apple TV Thursdays at 9 p.m. I don't know, but yeah, why not? It's fun.
So far it's in character, so we'll see if that continues.
So let's talk about what we learned from the Department of Agriculture secretary. Anything jump out at you?
I mean, he explains exactly what's going on here. This was extraterrestrial tech, radio signal with 4 tones in it that represent guanine, uracil, adenine, and cytosine, which is a nucleotide sequence that they could create. And it is essentially like a virus.
Not exactly, because that's the thing. It's like, I feel like that whole thing is just is Vince Gilligan's version of, we're never going to explain why 2% of the world population. It's a virus, but it's not quite a virus. It's more like a psychic glue. It's really hard to describe if you're not part of it. And the other thing is, in this episode, they make it clear that there's not going to be none of the unmerged, the mini, I'm going to call them, even though they're few. None of them have any special skill set. Well, I don't know. Maybe the non-English speakers do, but none of the English speaking ones have any kind of special skill set that's going to help them. Like, they're all Carol level of useless in a alien invasion with a biological contaminant type of situation.
Yeah, which becomes, I don't know, more, or I think maybe a lot less relevant as the episode goes on. Next episode anyway.
Yeah, and it's how does it work? It just does. Are you in charge? Nah, well, no, yes and no. Like, everyone's in charge, no one's in charge. Kind of the antithesis of slavery we're going for here.
Mm-hmm.
Find out that there was 11 individuals like herself. And the thing is they keep on saying your life is your own. But I want to know where your life is your own conflicts with biological imperative to spread.
Mm-hmm.
Like which thing trumps which thing? I would say the biological imperative is always going to trump the ethics system. But I don't know because like
Yeah.
we have a biological imperative to procreate, but there's layers to it, right? That doesn't mean you're just like a sex obsessed rapist going around trying to. It just means that we really want to do it, but we also can control it. We don't have to do it. We can do it in ways that aren't destructive. But
Yeah.
what do
I
they
mean,
mean? They say like breathing though. Breathing is not like fucking.
right.
It's not the way I do it.
It's interesting too because like the biological imperative to procreate can be short-circuited in ways because what you're really after is the chemicals in your brain that tells you this is what it feels like to procreate, right? And so that can be provided in various ways. I mean, like as soon as we were able to come up with contraceptives, we were able to kind of fulfill that need without the effect of actually producing an offspring in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, do they have to infect her or can they get that hit of chemicals some other way? I don't know. Something we'll probably explore as we go on.
I will say that it doesn't give me a lot of hope when they're saying your life is your own. It's like, well, what means you're going to try to fix me so you can join us? It's like, what if I don't want to? It's like, oh, Carol, when you find out how wonderful it is, it's like, that's not the answer you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
We know what's best for you. We know how you'll feel. Trust us, bro.
But what if they're right? What if she's missing
That's
out
the
on
big
something
question.
amazing by not joining?
And that's the thing. I can easily envision a society where we're all instantly psychic and we're all instantly like aware of the fact that we're all the same people,
Mm-hmm.
like, there's some pathologies, obviously there are, but you would instantly understand it. Even the worst,
Yes.
like psychopath behavior, mass murderer, you would like instantly understand why they did that. And they, with the Gestalt conscious of humanity, are no longer going to do that because
By hurting someone else, you're hurting yourself. It's so obvious in that context.
And it's like, is that like if your individuality? I like how that girl says it on the plane. It's like, you think you want that, but it's like, no, I'm not going to lose my individuality. I'm going to share it with the collective. Depends on how. Like I said, I'm all on Ray Seahorn's camp here. I'm on Carol's side, but I want to hear the pluribi out.
Sure.
But there's also, how do you trust a drug dealer about what heroin's like?
Right.
And this is how the episode ends with us 1 hour. And I was like, ooh, I wonder if this is going to be like a 24 style, telling the tale of the world. But nope. We're going to break that in the second episode. But
well, we break it right here.
1 hour into
if you notice, it's counting up now. This is 1 hour from
the invasion.
Yeah.
Well, from the Mass Effect, I should say, the takeover, the hostile takeover part.
Yeah, it's 1 hour from the hostile takeover, and that will be interesting going forward next episode, especially what they say with her being like, are you going to force me to become to join you? And they say, oh, we're months away from that. I mean, that to me is what this is counting back up to. But we'll see.
Are you ready to start the second episode?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Second episode begins. We see a filthy woman in dirty clothes wordlessly helping get a charred corpse out of a car from the previous day's RNA takeover. We find from context clues are somewhere in the Levant, which is broadly speaking the Middle East. Especially the parts around Israel, Palestine, Syria, things like that, Jordan. A man approaches her in the middle of her task with a helmet and a scooter, which she seamlessly takes and rides to the airport, boards a C-130 Galaxy, one of the largest transport planes in the world, and heads to Albuquerque. There, she takes a shower and is made up by other pluribi who have assembled there for purposes as yet unknown. This is another one, a really smell the roses scene. This is like 5 minutes. That paragraph took 5 minutes to show on but it's also telling us things, like that
Oh,
horrifying
tons.
precision. The fact that like a guy shows up on a moped, she instantly knows what she's supposed to do. There's also some horrifying inefficiencies, like why take the C-130? Why were they moving a Jeep around before they did that? Like what? It makes sense that someone commandeers Air Force One because that's their individual desire. But like, if she just needs to get, but maybe it's like the
I don't think
closest
this
thing,
is
the fastest
inefficiencies. Yeah, this to me sounds like efficiencies. Efficiencies that we don't recognize, but a consciousness working together would
Yeah.
understand every moving part
This
and
is
know
true.
that this is the best way to do it, even if it looks strange.
Right. Because you don't want to stop for midair refuel. You need a plane big enough that can travel that distance. And once, yeah, I could see
Like
that.
logistically, that has to be a superpower, right?
Well, and also with efficiency, it's like, I don't know, but I imagine travel for pleasure is no longer going to be a thing.
Yep. No. not
Like
at all.
commuting to work, you won't do that. You will have some kind of purpose to do in your immediate area, but you're never going to have to, unless crazy circumstances, you're never going to have to drive an hour to work. So like,
That's the thing. The only reason you would ever have to transport anyone anywhere, and I thought about this in the airport scenes, is if they physically had the attributes that you needed. Because
right.
it's like you couldn't have, I don't know, you couldn't have some fast food worker, instead of flying this plane, compete in like a strongman competition. It just wouldn't work.
True.
You would need to bring Thor Thormundsen or whatever over to Sweden to do that. But other than that,
but also like, why would you? Yeah, I'm not trying to think of the situations
they wouldn't.
where
almost certainly,
like you need a strong man, but it'd be faster to get him than just a piece of industrial equipment to do the moving, or just to get 100 people to like roll a car. You got a bus that's turned over in the highway. Well, you could get a wrecker, or you could just have 100 people tip it up and push it to where it needs to go, right? It's like, whatever.
there's a million ways
got,
around it. Yeah.
You've got billions of people, hive mind, working the traveling salesman problems to figure out what's more efficient. And yeah, as a person, how can I second guess them?
And it immediately conveys all that too. That's why the scene is so good and not just indulgent, is because it's telling you, it's giving you the information you need to infer all of that stuff.
Yes, and it's also allows you to really ponder, why this woman? She's not special.
Salma Hayek Jesus, as I was calling her.
She's not like special. She doesn't stand out in terms of like, I mean, she's fairly pretty. She's average attractiveness. She cleans up real well, but like, why her? Why do we need a better spokesman than the agriculture secretary? Or we'll get the answer to that here pretty soon. But it was one of the things I was like, what the fuck could possibly be the reason that she's flying a giant cargo plane that can move tanks around to Albuquerque?
And the other thing that the opportunity to indulge in, Vince Gilligan's proclivities that this scenario presents is, he loves to do scenes where there's very little or no dialogue. And you don't need the dialogue when everyone's communicating as one consciousness. You just simply don't need it.
In fact, I was actually wondering if that's going to be ever. Are they going to show Pluribi having a conversation? Like, would you do it just for the pleasure of it? What does pleasure mean to a Pluribi?
It would be for show. It would be for the benefit of the people who are not part of the collective, I would think.
You would think. But I don't know. Like, it's like, well, we can sprint everywhere if we wanted to, but normally we just kind of like walk and amble. So it's like, just because you can be, I don't know. Did they find it pleasant to converse with some of the mini? Like, is that a fun thing for them to? I don't know. But also, everything's done with serenity. Every one of these people has this beatific smile on their face. They have infinite patience. It's pretty great. I will say that, like, in our debate about whether the virus kills people randomly, or I thought it was interesting that when she gets on the bike path, it's a bloodbath. Like there's all these people on bikes falling over with blood spatters from their head, because biking's dangerous. Wear a helmet, kids.
Like half of Southeast Asia had to be in that 888 million, right? Like,
Well,
with the number of bikes that they drive, scooters.
I was stunned at the number of people that died, like literally 1 out of 7, 1 out of 8 people on the planet. But you start thinking about everyone that would die, like on an operating table, everyone that's in a plane, everyone that's in a car, that's traveling at speed, like they're all going to die. Like there's not like if you're not in a space where you can have a grand mal seizure for 3 or 4 minutes, you're going to without being hurt, you're going to die.
Yeah.
So maybe 1 out of 7 people on the planet.
Felt about right when she said it.
What do you think of the Pluribus intro that this is the cold open of the 2 sets of episodes?
It's short enough, and I mean, I'll still skip it. I always skip intros, but it's short enough to not be annoying, I guess, which is all I ask of intros.
But it's very Vince Gilligan, right? Like, a simple music cue, a simple graphic that kind of says something about it, the way Breaking Bad had the chemicals things into it, and Better Call Saul was like a advertising, one of his big, bold, brassy commercial stuff with his terrible taste in music. This is a human chorus coming together as one instrument, and you see these waves propagating out from the middle of the P and going through the particles and bringing them all together, having them all move as one. It's nice. I like it. 11 hours into the cheerful takeover of Earth, Carol awakes from a drunken stupor to be immediately confronted with her wife's corpse, resolving to do something about it personally. Eventually, the filthy woman from the Levant, now clean and presentable, approaches her and asks her to take it easy for her own sake. Carol eventually realizes the Pluribi have been made up to look like the original version of Raban, a woman that only Carol and Helen knew about. Carol completely loses her shit at the realization that Helen joined them before her death, which causes the pirate lady to seize up. Panicking again, she is confronted with the consequences of her actions when she once again drives around desperate for help.
Yeah, this is interesting. The other thing about, I guess, following this particular Selma Jesus around for 5 minutes, it got me thinking about the potential downside of a show like this, or the thing that could be hard to deal with. And I think they do a pretty good job by introducing at least a dozen more potential characters. You can't really follow around an individual and come to know them. That's part of the collective, right? You can follow them around, but they're going to change personalities, they're going to change jobs, they're never going to quite be an individual. So is that interesting to watch? But you get around that with 12 individuals.
True. It is true. But it's also, that's just 12, and there can't ever be more, I don't think, unless something stunning happens, which could be. But it's interesting to me that the Indian lady with Ravi, or whatever her little boy's name, she insisted that's my child, and implying that, like, even someone that knows you intimately and has hung around you for 2 days, there might be some debate about, is this not the real person? Like, yeah, okay, it's Ravi. Now he's got access to infinite knowledge, but he still sounds like it. He's got the... I don't know, because, like, are the aliens... Is the alien RNA telling us the truth when they say that nothing has been lost? That everyone is inhabiting everyone's brain... all those unique perspectives, all that knowledge, or is it like been pasteurized and squeezed, and it's just like the ones and zeros and everyone's individual emotional take on something, and things that maybe were gridlocked as society on things like a book. Like how do you?
Well, and how could it possibly have perspective on what would or wouldn't be lost with individuals, because it has never known individuality. So it telling you that is ridiculous. It says nothing about the fact of it.
And also, what's the point of life? Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, there's no more murder, there's no more people in jails, pets are off the chain, all that's like, it's such a wonderful society. But, like, what are you going to do with it?
You got to spread.
That's it? So, like...
That's the biological imperative. Isn't that the only reason we ever do anything, Aaron? I don't know. I've been told this.
You're going to
I don't believe it.
Having me arguing about free will versus determinism and all that. And
sure.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready, Jim. I'm not ready to have a crisis of
but these are all like
right now.
They're all flags, red flags, warning signs, or on both sides. And that's what I love about this. Is it's not just this show feels to me like it is not as interested in saying this is the way that you should believe or think about this takeover. It's more just holding it up and saying, what do you think about this? And showing you the different facets and saying, what do you think about this now? Okay, turn it a little. How about now? And that's way more fascinating to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, you can think of like, I big Star Trek fan, been lots of perspectives of people who are not in the Federations thinking of the Federation as kind of like a Borg thing that just kind of comes and subsumes you and makes you like it. But us Federation folks are like, that's insane. I would way rather be on a Federation world than a Ferengi world or a Cardassian world. But like, it depends on which side of the line you're on, right? Because it's about, and if anything, this psychic glue seems like it just enforces a universal morality. Like there are no more questions about when life begins, because everyone's going to agree on that, and everyone's going to agree on the primacy of supporting life and protecting life. So like all the little fights that we have, and that just shit goes away. But
gone.
Is it better?
Open question.
Carol returns to her home. Oh, wait, I want to talk about, there is some black comedy. Like, one of the funniest things I thought was the guy in the cherry picker. Like, you know, she's trying to help him, but she doesn't know what she's doing. And she's just grinding the stunt man's face against the side of this building. And and the guy, it's like, it's a real dude. And if he wasn't wearing that helmet, he'd be getting all kinds of fucked up. But also, he's kind of limp. I would love to know how they arranged that so they knew where that they wouldn't roll his head and then drag him against the pit. It's
right.
It's just
It's a stunt man.
Really
he's
funny.
Used to getting rubbed across
his face,
pavement, and
his face cheese grated against some stucco building.
Hell yeah.
So Carol returns to her home defeated. She summons the pirate lady back, gets some more information about what the fuck is going on. She learns that there are now 12 of the non-Pluribi people, the mini, and that she is personally responsible for lots of deaths with her latest outburst. The pirate lady suggests an easier way to bury Helen. With that task done, she asks for Raban, I guess, to arrange a meeting with all 5 of the other English-speaking members of the non-Pluribi.
Guess when you start in a military facility, it's not too many connections away to get to the astronauts, I suppose, or people in bases in Antarctica.
That's why I think, because like all those pretty much need the United States government to function, to work. So it'd be real easy to send to contaminate their food that they're packing up with the regular resupplies of the space shuttle. It'd be real easy to do the same thing with pallets you're sending to the, I don't know, Ross Ice Shelf or whatever the hell they're doing it down there.
And if you look at the timing of this, they had about a year to arrange all this stuff before the military discovered them, and they had to go loud. So
oh no, they only had 30 days. The year and a half they had is decoding the signal. Yes. It was all 30 days. And she even mentions like the first month went pretty smoothly.
That seems really fast to get something up to the space station.
For a hive mind though, like I guess it depends on when the next resupply was scheduled. If it was scheduled like 2 weeks from the infection date, it would probably be trivial for a hive mind to take someone out of JPL or Cape
Sure,
Canaveral.
But if they have to reschedule, like that goes across the news, that's big alarm bells, you know?
Yeah. And they were fortunate. I mean, I guess it's like, if you ever played that, I can't remember what it's called. Oh, Plague Inc., where it's a video game where you try to beat a virus and spread as quick. And it's like your worst fear is you're going to take over the rest of the world except for like Greenland and what's the other island off of Africa? Madagascar. You're going to, and if you can't get them by the time the world figured out what's going on, you're done. You can't infect them. Yeah. And I bet like it was interesting that they're trying to be non-violent, but again, I guess that does kind of hint that the biological imperative overrides everything. Because if human life was the primacy, they're like, whoa, this could kill a billion people. We can't do this. So I guess I've answered my own question. I like how spiteful Carol is too. You know, like this thing's like, hey, all the world's medical doctors agree you're about to have sunstroke. Drink this water. I've just made contact with the bottling plant guy, and he says it's good water, and she just pours it out. And then,
I mean,
they're using a Reaper drone to keep track of her, which also made me think about in terms of like where we're at modern day, like the kind of chilling realization that there could be a Reaper drone over my house right now, and I have no fucking clue. It's the size of a SUV, and it's 40,000 feet in the air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't see it, and that's the thing, right? There's some trust. Obviously, she's not willing to place any trust in this collective yet, but I think by the end of the episode, she certainly has. She's riding around in airplanes with them. She's the trust is growing in a weird way. But
or at least she knows what you can trust them on, like what they're capable of and what they're.
Yeah, and I think like when she pours out this water, you know, it's A, fuck you for taking over the planet, but B, it's I don't trust you that there's nothing in this.
Right.
And eventually that might actually be true. Like if their only goal is to get her to join them, but they don't yet have a solution for it, but they say in a couple months they might, a couple months from now she might need to watch out what she drinks.
Yeah, because they will start lying and manipulating you to get that last biological imperative scratched.
Yeah.
So here's the interesting thing. Let's say that you are in a relationship. Let's say that it was going fine for a couple months, but now things are getting bad, and you think it'd be best for you go to separate way, and every time you try to broach the subject, your partner threatens to commit suicide. What would you call that tactic?
Manipulative?
Abuse?
Is there like a... Yeah, okay. That's fair.
And I couldn't help but notice that, like, the Pluribi are essentially putting a soft leash on Carol, which is you have to accept what we're doing and not be mad, or you'll kill a bunch of people. You wouldn't want a bunch of people to die, would you, Carol? We don't want a bunch of people to die. That's an abuse tactic. It might not be intentional, but it certainly comes across as that to this human.
Yeah, that makes sense. And simultaneously, it goes the other way, too, right? Because, like, as I think you were hinting at earlier in the first episode, this is a weapon that could be used against them also. Because if every time she gets angry at them, their numbers diminish, she could quite easily take them all out. Just getting angry enough and enough times.
And it's also like I think that's maybe a intrinsic thing that they just can't evolve around, because when she asked them, is there anything you can give? Is there anything you can do to keep me from doing that? I don't think she means to keep me from getting mad. I think she means to keep my anger from brain fucking you people.
I think so,
and the thing says, now they could be lying, but I take them at their word that this is something that he can't, evolve a resistance to.
Mm-hmm. Or haven't yet, at any rate.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, also, to contra my previous statement that Carol doesn't give a shit about people, she only cares about persons, she did spontaneously vomit at the idea that she had caused the death of who knows how many people just from getting angry.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the numerous reasons I say she's not a bad person. She just has some issues.
There's also something in the trailer I think we talked about where she's talking with this DHL guy about, can she get a gun? Can she get a grenade? Can she get a tank? Like, we see a little bit of this with the pirate lady airdropping a miniature backhoe to bury Helen. Yeah, apparently I do wonder, like, yeah, okay, Carol's got a tank. What's she going to do with it? And there's also kind of like all kinds of things I'm wondering about the way they treat animals. And, well, if I kill it, would you still cook it for me? Like, could you actually commandeer an aircraft carrier fully armed and operational and then order them to go out and... No, probably not, because then they'd be actively killing people. But could you have a tank driver drive you to some place, show you how to use the turret, and then use that turret to blow up an embankment of Pluribi? Would a Pluribi defend themselves?
I don't know. Yeah, what would they do in response to violence from Carol? I mean, we've seen that they shake around and die, so maybe they don't have a defense against that.
Are we going to see Carol do some kind of fucked up 9/11 just to see if she can?
No, I don't think so. Because
I don't mean like running it as play. I mean like trying to do a mass casualty event just to see if she can.
I don't think she would. The way she reacts when she realizes that her outburst caused the deaths of any number of people, which she thinks is maybe in the thousands, right? And later finds out is 11 million. She reacts so negatively to that. There's no way she would. She still views these as individuals, and maybe that'll change. Yeah, I mean, otherwise, why would she ask how many people died?
Because what I guess how I'd characterize her is she's at that stage of a zombie invasion where she recognizes that these are zombies and they mean her harm, but also maybe we should keep a couple, the ones that are close to us, in a barn, because what if there's a cure?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Because I don't think that she thinks that these are people in any traditional sense, and that those people are already dead. Now, could they be brought back to life? Maybe, but if she's convinced that they can't, then I could see her being pretty nihilistic.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the terminology here is just slightly different, but the way she views it is any harm that comes to this collective is harm to the human race. She doesn't necessarily view these as just purely alien entities. Or zombies, as you put it.
There's one other thing I wanted to follow up on about. Maybe not.
I will say the instant communication is a really nice thing, right? You've got these 12 people around the world, 5 of whom speak English, and she's like, well, can I contact them and find out if they're willing to come meet me? And, not Raban goes blank for a second and then comes back. Yep, they're all agreed. That's pretty good.
Why do you think Carol's trying to call it off? Like, as soon as she said just start it right now, and Raban kind of goes into communicate with the world mode, but she can still hear Carol. Carol says, no, do that, and she does it anyway. That is interesting.
I don't know.
But also, I was trying to think, it's like, if I was on a planet Earth and this happened to me, and some of these pluribi came up and said, hey, we got an English-speaking woman from America, and she wants to talk to you. Do you want to talk to her? I would be like, yes. That would be the first. I'd be like, yes, I want to talk. I want to talk to one of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it made sense that they are all universally, yes, we will get together.
Oh, yeah.
But also, like, let's talk about the alien influences naivete. How long do you think it'll take them to understand how much Carol distrusts her and stop offering to, like, translate things and stop staying in the room when it's just the mini there to talk? Because at some point it's like, okay, you just that's just like that level of privacy doesn't compute to you. But the other end is like, eventually after someone tells you, hey, I'd really like for you to take your shoes off before we come into my house, and you keep tracking, they're going to think that you don't respect them or that you don't give a shit about how they feel. And I'm almost at that point. Every single time they delay and try to hang around and try to eavesdrop in conversations and whatever, I'm like, they get it. They just are intentionally trying to slip up to see if the mini will let them passively violate their rights, because they can't do it directly.
Yeah. And when you think about it, shouldn't they inherently understand how she's feeling in any of these given moments, because they've absorbed humanity's consciousness that did at one point have individuality?
Very much rugged. They'd have paranoid people. They would have rugged individualist people. They'd have anti-government anarchy people. Like, yes, they should know that. But there's a difference between knowing and feeling. But I don't know, because they also describe, man, it's crazy how much information we got in this episode. It's like, well, maybe it's a difference in knowing and feeling something. You know, the way like Dr. Manhattan understands his girlfriend's going to cheat on him. But then when he gets to the point where he still gets angry, because that's the human part of him catching up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they've absorbed all this, but they just don't understand the emotions. You know?
Yeah, or that part, that individuality is sort of wiped away by the collectiveness.
Yeah. And that's just because I know you and I have talked about this, that like if they ever came a way to put our brains inside of a computer body, I would be like, absolutely. I wouldn't give a shit about this rotting husk. I just want me to, the thing that's me but like, when would you be convinced that this technology is working?
Right.
Like the first guy it does, and he's like, "Oh, I swear it's me." It's just been like That's an extraordinary claim. It requires extraordinary proof that you've moved me in there 1-to-1 with zero.
Yeah, I would have to either have many people have already gone through the process successfully and come to believe that they are still them. So maybe someone close to me who I know very well, or
Yeah.
on my deathbed. Like I would be convinced on my deathbed that the technology is perfect. Yeah,
Right.
I'm ready.
But it's like it's also, you're not risking anything because you're risking
Exactly.
a permanent change to oblivion versus even an imperfect copy of you. Why not
Right.
roll the dice a bit?
Unless I'm condemning myself to hell inside of a cybernetic brain, but I don't know. The chances of that feel pretty low.
All right. Well, let's go to see the result of this meeting. 2 days later, Carol is flown by a pilot from TGIF to place some Mediterranean-ish place. I want to say maybe it's like Spain or Portugal.
I think they shouted out of Spain.
Did they? Okay, because then they're going to fly
Yeah.
to Guggenheim, which is in New York. That's crazy, but she meets the other 5 people, including the very flamboyant Mr. Kumba Diabetes.
Sure. I'm just calling him
Diabati.
Kumba because I don't know.
Kumbaya, who is in personal possession of Air Force One. He invites them all aboard the magnificent vessel, where Carol dismisses the Pluribussin so she can have a private talk with the Mini. The others aren't as down with the Save the World project as she is, so they convene for lunch.
Yeah, this is where I think the show gets the most interesting, is when you start to interact with other people who are individuals. And now you aren't just comparing Carol to the collective, you're comparing several individuals. They all have different opinions, different feelings on this, and just different thought patterns. Like this Lakshmi person who thinks this kid that's with them is still her child. Like, and just has a lot of different opinions than you do based on what's happening.
But as kind of as an equal and opposite, because I think she's just as angry and reactionary as Carol is. It's just towards, and some of this is like, because there's all different attitudes towards collectivism versus individuality. Like America, we really prize individuality. Places in Asia more prize collective getting along and going along with the flow. Which is better? I don't know. I just know I've seen lots of examples of people talking to people from China and being like, really? You can't talk about the government on the internet, and you can't move wherever you want to go, and you can't do that. And the Chinese people like, really? You have to worry about your health care, and you gotta vote and have all these angry political divisions, and it's like it's very hard to see from the other side which side of the grass is greener.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it kind of depends on what side you're on. And you're just sort of describing your grass to the other person.
It's funny because in the first episode, I thought there's a way that Carol could essentially be the queen of the world. Like, yeah, this sucks and all that, but like you actually have the world, the world's resources at your disposal. You could do anything you want. You could have 100 pluribi carry you on their backs up to Mount Everest. You could do anything. And like when Air Force One pulled up, I'm like, hot damn, somebody is going to be trying to have fun while the fun can be had. God bless Kumba.
And he's getting to the place that I was curious about, the exploitative paths with this collective that I was wondering about, because she does have such a strong, I don't know, lever that she can pull to make them do whatever. And this guy's pulling it every chance he gets. And I love that. They're having so much fun with it in the show too.
Yeah. And it's also like, can you be exploited if you're fine with exploitation? Like, hypothetically, Hannah Waddingham could turn me into her sex slave, where I wouldn't have any say over it, but I'd probably be like, "Yes, ma'am. That's what I want. That's is exactly where I wanted to be." So it's like,
Sure.
and I was thinking of like, okay, it's like that's where it's like, I imagine there's gonna be a lot of ink built about what this says about consent and whatnot, but like I don't, because it's like if I knew there's a bacterial colony on my skin that would just give them the world's greatest pleasure if they were able to stick a protuberance into my individual cells in my body, I'd be like, I mean, I could see some people being grossed out, but I'd probably be like, you know what, knock yourself out. Tell me about it. What's it like? You know, that's what this is. It's like, and like if you had the entire world to select from and be like, hey, who would find this guy attractive and charming? You would have like 100 million people, and then just select the ones that he would find attractive, and then like there you got around your consent thing. But like, what does that even mean to a multicellular being?
Yeah, I mean, if it's truly a collective consciousness and its goal is to please the person of its, I guess, attention of focus, then it's giving consent. It is giving consent. Like, consent has been asked for and given.
And think about what's precious. You know, we're precious about human life because we're really precious about, you know, conscious experiences and getting the benefits of all different perspectives and whatnot. But like from the perspective of the pluribi, once they've absorbed an individual, there's no more individuality coming from them. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but like, do you see where I'm going with this? Like, where am I going with this? Yeah, I guess that there's like, once they're absorbed into collective, that ends all individuality. So there's not going to be any more new experiences coming from that line.
Right.
So like, that's the other question is like, what incentive do the pluribi have to absorb the many? I guess other than a biological imperative, because you'd think like, man, it might be interesting just to keep 12 of these people around for entertainment value.
Yeah, like that biological imperative thing, it's interesting because it really removes the morality of it, right? It's not a matter of are they doing something good or evil. It's just what they do. They're machines that are programmed to do this. How can they possibly be blamed for it? And I think that encourages you to then look at the human species and say, how does that reflect us? And I'm certain, like, we're 2 episodes into what's at least at the bare minimum a 2-season television show. We're going to get so many more conversations about this kind of stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just, you know, we didn't really mention this in a recap, but on Air Force One, this Kumba's got a fully stocked with beautiful women from every corner of the globe wearing, I wouldn't say sleazy, elegant evening wear. He's like, they're not like the Swedish bikini team.
I mean, he's got a style. It's pretty flamboyant, especially personal style. But not dirty, not.
But he also there's like some kind of maybe naivety from him when he's talking about making personal connections with who we find out is Shoja. Like, what the hell does that mean?
Right?
Are you interacting with a puppet of her now? You're interacting with a facsimile of what? You're interacting with what the Gestalt consciousness thinks would be most pleasing about her to you? Or do they get, or does the pluribi get genuine pleasure from having an intellectual conversation with an outside being, or having sex? You know, because like pluribus, even if they had sex to procreate, it'd be like masturbating, right?
Sure.
Whereas like if you're having sex with a free agent, that's exciting. You know, that's exciting, right? That's why you want to do that.
Yeah, it's tough. Like she asks, Carol asks Zosha, like, do you want to do this? And there is like, there's a statement that comes out of her mouth that answers affirmative, but there's also a look on her face that shows me a little bit of hesitance.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think this brings them pleasure necessarily. It's more like, do you want to take your next breath? Yes. But what else can I say, right? Because I'm just forced to. Yeah.
Big breather, big breathing enjoyer. Been doing it recreationally now for
9
plus years.
Do you enjoy it or do you have to do it? So that's
Yeah. But I'm talking about just the physical act of sex. Like, I don't think that's a biological imperative, but I don't think that they find it unpleasant. And you mentioned that she had a funny look on her face. Are you talking about when Kumba and her are trying to like decide who's going to go home with who? Because I thought that discomfort was based on her realizing she's going to have to hurt somebody. Not that she wasn't looking forward to fucking Kumba.
Maybe. Could be, yeah.
But again, who knows? Because like we're trying to think what 7 billion people think in one human body.
And either way, this Kumba guy seems like a not serious person. And I think that's a good place to start him at. And I think we're going to see him evolve because he does have moments where he's kind of knocked out of his just playboy persona. Yeah.
He's not
a little bit. He's not an idiot.
I don't think he's right. I don't think he's a user psychopath. I don't like he's just a different type of person that is interacting with this with he's assuming good faith from all the people. Because that's the other. I think there's going to be a lot of feedback where people are like, well, how can you trust what the Pluribussin are saying? I do think that Vince Gilligan has given us a lot of clues here, and the big one is Pirate Lady voluntarily turning off the sophisticated and as yet hidden recording devices above Air Force One. They didn't have to do that. But there's also a lot of things they assert that they do, like, oh, we told the Reaper drone to go away. And also, like, I'm sure there's many other ways to record stuff on Air Force One than that one recorder, and they don't know, right? So it's like, but I think that Vince is trying to tell us that the aliens are not going to lie to our faces, except for maybe about how much they want us to merge with. But they're not even lying about that.
No, they want us. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just how far does their respect for our agency go, and when does the biological imperative begin?
Yeah, I mean, until we get a few months down the road in the universe timeline, I don't think there's any reason to believe that they're not telling the truth. And I kind of don't want this show to turn into what secret plan do the aliens have? I find it much more interesting if she's working to not become them, and they are working to get her to become them. And it's all out in the open. Everyone knows. Interesting.
Yeah, that's my, because I've seen the other. I've seen V almost 40 years ago. I see what it looks like when a duplicitous race comes with a whole bunch of bouquet of roses, and then they got the chef's knife behind her back. Like, I want to see something that's not like that.
Yeah, like an Earth final conflict, that kind of thing. That's definitely one of those.
I do like that it's like, because this is like we've seen this movie, like the few people get together, they get all the Mooney cult kicked out of the room, and they instantly like, what the hell are we going to do? And the only thing I thought was interesting is, like, out of a random selection of 6 people in the globe, only Carol sees this as humanity ending. This is the end of the world. Everybody else is a little bit more circumspect about it.
Yeah, you're right. I assume that's just for, expediency of the show, the plot. Like, do we really need 2 people arguing for a thing, or can we just have one person arguing for each thing and get all the different flavors combined?
They also seem to be roughly from the same economic standard. Like, these all seem like middle-class people from around the globe. Although I guess it's hard to tell, because, like, maybe Kumbo was like a wretched street urchin, and then he's as soon as he saw what's going on, he's like, hey, I want some nice clothes, and he's just seeing where he could get to. But, like, I thought it would be interesting to have someone that has nothing, that is not bought into the system, is not getting in, and like have them be the foil to Carol, who is a very privileged person and doesn't appreciate it. And maybe, like I said, maybe we'll find out some of these people are like that, but
maybe. You know what Kumba feels like to me? It's like a superhero who has just gotten their powers, just realized them, and now he's experimenting with them.
Right. Tobey Maguire in the swag phase before his uncle dies and shit gets real.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all just a game. Bonesaw's ready. I'll go get that car, date Mary Jane. Yeah. Because that's the thing. Yeah. It's like, you are pursuing essentially the billionaire playboy fantasy in a world that has completely transformed. But I mean, also, like, maybe that's the way, like, if it's inevitable that they're going to crack this code and fix us, maybe we should use the last few days of our individual, because we're going to do 11 people against the fucking world. Or do you want to fuck supermodels? and eat the best food and stay at the most expensive resorts and see the most amazing geography. Like, what's the morality of that?
I think we are headed to much darker places in this show. And I think that's what this countdown is all about. And I would guarantee the song No More Mr. Nice Guy will show up somewhere in this show. It has to. But I think what's going to happen is if you look at what's going on here, there's a conspicuous consumption happening with Kumba, right? He's drinking all the finest wines. He's eating caviar. He's eating the last of the meat. Like if you think about what they're saying, they're telling him you're not going to have any more meat after this unless you yourself go into the woods and hunt a boar with a spear or a shotgun, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Does he seem like the kind of guy who's going to be able to do that?
Might be seem the guy that's fine with eating spicy tofu, though. You know.
Sure, but I'm looking at it, and there's a very ominous line at the dinner, or the lunch scene, where they say, "Oh, so you're vegetarian?" And she says, "That would be our preference. Would be our preference, if not for what?"
Like, there's no other way. Like, if you had to eat,
do they not kill plants?
Life, you would. Well, that's that question I had because yeah.
Now you're talking about you have to forage and hunt for your food, and that could take you all your time, basically.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was thinking, is like I'm pretty open to the anti-meat arguments. I've tried to cut out a lot of meat from like ethical sustainability, health reasons, more so than animal welfare. But like, if you're a type of person that's like, well, you can't eat a lobster because it's got some kind of consciousness that we can't understand, we got to preserve it. You're a scientific discovery away to find out that like all lettuce forms a gestalt consciousness and has like some kind of has a response to pain. And there's already signs that some trees can do that. Like, I'm getting eaten by a wood boring beetle, I'm going to send out a psychic scream for a pheromone so the other trees can do this and that. And it's like, what if you fucking philosophize yourself into a situation where you can't eat ethically?
Right.
Is it more ethical for you to die than to not eat the fucking lobster? I don't know. That's where
I agree. Like that's a possible downward spiral that they're in. The other thing is resources consumed by this entity in its efforts to, I don't know, spread itself, could be vast. You like, what incentive do they have to run the systems that you enjoy? Like, what incentive do they have to make another airplane that they're not using currently for their own needs, for their own imperatives?
Right.
What makes you think you're going to get to fly Air Force One around forever? Right now they're in the cleanup phase. Maybe that's not necessary for them, but when they're in the maximum building phase of some kind of alien intelligence, you might not have access to anything because they're using it all currently.
And like, also I think in the terms of a cult, like the love bombing stage, where it's like, well, you used to be Jehovah's Witnesses. When you're knocking on people's doors, you don't lead with, oh, by the way, you're not going to celebrate Christmas or birthdays anymore.
You have to give up 3 nights a week to go to these
grandma's
meetings.
Not up in heaven waiting for you. It's a lot more complicated than that. And you're going, like you said, you always lead with the nice stuff, like, oh,
right.
So I just wonder, it's like, okay, this is their frame when they think that they're months away from solving this. What if they can't? How patient will they be with the mini once it's no longer just, well, we're going to grit our teeth until, and we cater to them and it's kind of amusing, whatever. Because like that, I keep on thinking, it's like, I looked at where Zoja was when we saw her, and she's filthy, she's covered in blood, she's using protective equipment. That's the other thing noticed the aliens all do. They all cover their ears because they don't want to go deaf. They all, wear appropriate protective gear for the things that they're doing because they value life. But yeah, what happens if you run out of the grace period?
Yeah, and I think there's an ecological thing they're getting at here too with this conspicuous consumption, where like we are as a species sort of represented by Kumba, and he's just consuming without a thought for when this might run out if ever.
Yeah.
I feel like they're trying to say something about the people in our world who are just living life like it's a party that will never end, as opposed to Carol, who's seeing things for how much more dire they actually are.
They might be pushing on the other end too, because like, you talk to some like really extreme animal rights activists, and that they'll advocate for like just abolishing zoos, abolishing pets, so it's like, what does that look like? You're going to let 1 billion cattle across North America out? You're going to let all the pigs out? We see what a disaster accidental release of pigs into the invasive species. Like I do wonder if we're going to see just random tigers and zebras and stuff walking around Albuquerque, hippos and stuff, because like that's not good, man. The earth wasn't designed to do all that. Not every ecological niche can survive in everybody else's ecological niche.
Yeah, it could get fascinating.
I did think it was telling that Carol, like the everyone, because I felt that a little bit. Like I'm as rugged individualist as the next American, but I would have asked some of these people what is your subjective experience about this like? I'd like to know, like, what does this feel like? Convince me. And Carol's the one that, and I like the Indian lady Lakshmi's, well, you didn't bother to educate yourself. Why should we listen at all? But
yeah, fair point.
Kim Wexler comes back with, well, I don't listen to drug dealers about how good their drugs feel. And I don't listen to addicts either. Because that's the other thing. We'll go ask a person, he's got the heroin needle. Oh, this is the greatest shit ever. Well, so the Pluribi go off to prepare a wonderful lunch for everybody, their favorite things to eat, and we learn more about them. They cherish life. They won't willingly kill, even for sustenance. Well, I guess Jim is... I wrote this introduction, or this scene transition before I heard his thoughts, because now he's got me thinking that is ominous, that's our preference. They prefer not to kill anything, even for sustenance. We find out that nearly 1 billion people died during this quote-unquote happy takeover just days before, and that Carol was personally responsible for 11 million deaths during her outburst yesterday. Carol becomes horrified of the attitudes of the other many people around her. She condemns them all as traitors to the human race and storms off, tripping, which leads the Pluribi to go render her assistance, which leads Carol to melt the fuck down again, causing another worldwide break of the Unibrain.
Oh, killing many more people, I'm sure. Here's what I would be doing if I were Kumba, knowing that resources are dwindling and they probably won't be replenished, is I would just be eating all the lettuce and fresh vegetables I could possibly fit in me, because I know that's a flavor I will never taste again once 2-3 days a week have passed. All that shit's going to be rotten, and you're not getting any more,
You're talking
man.
about produce or animals? Because, like, I don't think that they're going to stop farming. Really? Why? You don't think that they're going to...
They would prefer you're vegetarian, but they would prefer you eat nothing.
Well, how the fuck is that going to work? Because that's a question I've got. I want to see these people eat. Like,
we haven't seen it.
Did they all line up at a tray of nutrient protein like they serve, like Morpheus serves people in The Matrix? Mm-hmm. Do they have like simple vegetarian style foods? Do they just like rip up handfuls of grass and lettuce and just shove it in their face? Do they take showers? Do they care about their personal hygiene, or just enough to not spread disease?
Yeah, we don't know.
Do they care about sexually transmitted diseases?
Not if they're sleeping with Kumba.
I was gonna say, like, Kuma could have a raging case of herpes, and like, they're like, who cares? What's a minor case of herpes?
I mean, they have it already anyway, right? It's a collective, so.
Oh, maybe that's the thing, and they can select for the individual organisms that already have. Okay, well, yeah, if he wants a raw and all the people who have herpes,
he's just getting hyper strains. Yeah, send him his way.
That's what's going to beat him. Super herpes, Jim.
Super herpes.
Just like the War of the Worlds. Just like the War of the Worlds.
Yep. It was water
Only
there, it's herpes here.
The slutty shall inherit the earth. There's a couple of really good things, like where the mom gets all indignant about her swearing in front of her child, and then she engages him in a debate about speculums, which kind of...
Yeah.
It's funny because they're both not educated in different ways, because this woman did nothing to try to see if this is actually her son. She just took it on as faith, and Carol did nothing to see... what is the nefariousness of this, and they can't see past each other's ignorance and biases, I guess.
Yes, and this is the part that's so delicious, right? Is you've got a group of 5, 6 people here who are all trying to come to a consensus that is impossible to reach because they all have different perspectives, different values, and then you've got this monolithic collective consciousness that has none of those problems.
Yeah, yeah. The finest warrior, the smartest biologist.
But it just doesn't have those problems. Like, it's showing you that there is a more peaceful existence within the collective, but maybe it has other costs that we just haven't considered yet.
Yeah, just like I think it's pretty, prima facie type of stuff to say that a benevolent dictator would probably be the best form of government for humanity. But since we can't agree on what's benevolent and what we should do, that actually is the worst, right? But there's a lot of things in authoritarian regimes. You don't look at the reason China has been able to build all these bullet trains and stuff in the last 10 years is because there's nobody that says you can't do that because it's going to destroy the habitat of the wet owl, or it's going to disrupt the sleep patterns of this particular neighborhood, or they just fucking do it, man. They got to have like 6 people shake hands and agree, and it just gets done. Right. Is that better? It depends, I guess, if you're a wet owl or a person that's getting their sleep disrupted. Or round up into a thought crime camp. I don't know. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about? I like the thing that triggered her is the Guggenheim, and that was on Helen's bucket list. And is that another way? Are they fucking with Carol, or are they still trying to be helpful?
It felt like they were trying to be helpful to give her something they know she would really love, but they don't realize how much that is just going to cause her pain in the moment.
So and I thought so too the first watch, when this pirate lady casually drops Celtiberian.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh shit, did they just name... Is there a star called Celtibar out there? Is there some... I tried to look, and no, Celtiberian is a real life ancient people that lived in the Iberian Peninsula, aka Spain and Portugal. They were genetically, ethnically Celtic, and they were conquered by the Romans somewhere between 200 and 0 BC, and then got completely co-opted. And I'm wondering, like, does anyone know what that word is for, like, some kind of togetherness, like extreme togetherness that is the antithesis of slavery, but it's also not a hive mind. But I don't think that that's an alien word. I think that she's saying that there actually was some ancient culture on Earth that had a word that perfectly describes what we're offering. But
that makes sense too. Especially like, because I was thinking, man, she's so incurious. She drops the name of the alien species and she doesn't even confirm it or ask anything about it. But maybe as an author, she's heard, she's probably very well read and she's heard of the Celtiberians.
Maybe. I thought that was like, just like, because you're right. I was like, why wouldn't you ask about Celtiberian? What the hell is that? Just because, does Carol know about that? I don't know. Does she? Maybe she's researching in her historical
like I said,
fiction.
Authors typically very well read.
Sometime about 8 hours later, after this outburst, Carol recovers in a private room and finds that she has drove off all the other Mini except for Mr. Kumba, who wants to ask for her permission to take the pirate lady off of her hands, and then also to lightly engage in some philosophical debate about their planet's plight. She once again insists on leaving, but has a change of heart at the last minute, running in front of Air Force One, preventing it from taking it off. And that is where we leave things 2 days and 16 hours after the happy takeover of Earth. Can I say something up front before we talk about the other interesting things about the scene and consent and all that? Convince me that this is how things would turn out, because the way I understand the Pluribusins, the Pluribussi, is that a second that Carol said stop the plane and I'm running off and I want to go to the Air Force One would stop. Like, I think this is dramatic license that, like, because that implies that Air Force One didn't know that she was heading over there to stop them and didn't know what she's trying to do until the pilot saw her. They had to apply the brakes and stop. But
Yeah.
maybe you're supposed to understand that like they would, maybe they were slowing down before she got in there, and she didn't know that would all happen because she doesn't. But like I thought it was. Again, there's some wiggle room that Vince is introducing here, so you can't quite make black and white statements about the Pluribi.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can concoct some scenarios to where this makes sense. Maybe she said stop the plane that she's on. Or was she on a plane? She's not on a plane at that point. Is she?
No, she was on a plane. She was on a plane to presumably go back to Albuquerque.
So she says, right, she runs up the aisle. Yeah, she says, stop the plane. And then they don't know why. They're just like, okay, we stopped our plane. And then she runs out onto the tarmac. But I don't know.
Awesome shot. Yeah. This like little lady running in front of this gigantic, because Air Force One is one of the biggest. Like it's essentially a 747 plus, or I don't know. Now it's like a $400 million plane. I don't know.
It's sad because I look at this version of Air Force One and I'm like, I see that from that scene with Harrison Ford. That's the hallway and the staircase he goes up. I can imagine what the cargo hold looks like, because damn, they nailed it, huh? Or at least maybe they've recycled the Air Force One from that movie for this.
But so I want to talk about some of the things to talk about here, where this guy's going to Vegas. He's going to stay in the Elvis suite and try to commune with the spirit of dead Elvis. And he wants Zosia, but why? I thought that this was like Zosia. Surely he can't want Zosia. Surely this is just an excuse to talk to Carol. But maybe he does really want Zosia. What does it mean to make a connection with the Unimind? If you make, I mean, this is like Rick and Morty shit, where Rick and Morty's going around with the mass consciousness and he's having sex with them all and all that kind of stuff. But like, what does it mean to make a connection with Zosia?
I wouldn't ascribe anything more than he looked her up and down and said, "That's something I would like."
I haven't had that particular flavor. Let's sample it.
That's my impression of this guy.
But then he rebukes her. It's like, well, you're just sticking your dick in any brain damage incompetent that floats your boat. And he tells her to like, say, have I ever done anything untoward or shown you affection that was unwarranted? She's like, oh, we always like get affection. He's like, then solve the square root of some random number, which she does. That proving that she's competent from that would pass a human competency test, sure. But like, it's also missing the point.
Yeah, I mean, he's treating her like Siri, where it's a personal assistant designed to just bring him whatever he wants, which it is, but also that's kind of her point. Yeah, I don't know. This guy, like, look, I'm not saying I would do any better than this guy in this scenario, but he's not very serious at the moment.
Or again, maybe he's making a rational decision that like, I don't know genetics shit. I take it at the word that they're going to solve this problem and have me join, so I might as well take advantage of the situation, because it's like, what is the morality of, I don't know, eating a panda steak the day that the bombs drop, and you know it. Like, I'm going to go hunt a panda and kill it and eat it, but the bombs are going to drop. It's like, that would be very immoral if you did it in our steady state world, but if the world's going to end tomorrow, then like, maybe it says something about you that's what you want to do, but like, is it evil?
Right. No, I would say no. There is some like consequences of Kumba's actions that I find interesting. Like, what happens if he gets one of these models pregnant and they have a child? Will that child be infected? And I mean, it would be infected by the virus, but would it be part of the collective? Or would it have the same immunities that he has? Oh my
God, that poor Indian kid with his dad and his mom knows exactly what it's like to fuck his mom.
I didn't bring that up.
No, I'm saying like right. everyone, and that's like, why would you want to have sex with anyone in the Pluribi other than procreation? Because you'd already know what it's like.
That's true. Unless they're a part of the collective that have never had sex, and then you might try it just to see. That way the collective could know what's
sex relationships with the virgin Jim. Like to me, that's like literally doing one thing over. Like it's like has how yeah I don't know.
Well, it's just a flavor of something that you otherwise wouldn't get. I mean, whether it's good or bad. I mean, you try Campari once, right? Whether you love it or hate it, you may not go back to that well. But
I'll try anything.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, that's a good point. Like, so what is that? What is that? His child, or is this just is this like us doing mitosis? You know, because I get the idea because she's like, oh, I'm the worst mass murderer since Stalin. All these people don't see it that way. No, we don't, Carol. Well, is that because you see the millions that died as like a fingernail that got, or like a hangnail that got trimmed? It's sore, but we cut it off and now it's better. The individuality is not going away because we've already absorbed it. So what is to lose other than the physical?
Or to take it back to like the breathing thing, the biological imperative, do you just view those deaths as simply an exhale? Like this is the byproduct of the thing we do.
The circle of life.
I don't know.
There's a follow-up on that I wanted to, what was it? It was, he died at something we just do. Fingernail clippings. Oh, that's it. I want to explore that a little bit further. Right now, we got a situation where roughly 8 billion people are living in 7 billion people's heads. What if you took down the pluribus population to just 100 people? Would all that is that like a network computer system where you're going to degrade the ability to? Is there something that can scare a pluribi where like, oh shit, if we, like I don't care if I clip my fingernail, I care about whether I got my right hand. Like what is the equivalent of a right hand law to the pluribi? What is something that they are just, it's too painful, they would not do it.
Interesting. Yeah, I do hope we explore those limits because
I think like again, just like I don't think psychic connections can go faster in light. I don't think that 7 billion consciousnesses could fit into 100 people's brains. It's just I don't buy into use 100% of your brain, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But like,
right,
there is a finite capacity. There's so many neurons you've got there to make connections, and then you run out. So.
And I don't know if your like brain would explode, but certainly information would be lost at a minimum.
That's the thing, right? I don't think it's fatal. It's just like and then that seems like it'd be the only thing that they would care about. Like losing some of their knowledge and distinctiveness would be the only thing, because like individual bodies, like dime a dozen, but the experiences and the personalities and the emotions and the drives, that's the stuff that they.
Is it, or is it just numbers? Like we don't really know yet. That's what's fascinating.
Right. And I constantly find myself trying to anthropomorphize their desires when I have no basis of doing that.
No, but it's pretty natural. The other question I have is, would they keep Carol from harming herself if she wanted to, I don't know, jump off a bridge? Would they physically stop her? Or would they allow her to literally have anything she wants? To the point of
I will say
dying.
That the amount of freedom that they've given her already shows that they are aware of the fact that she might hurt herself or others, because they even said that when they're putting together. It's like, your lives are your own, which means we can't protect you from yourselves. Right. I would think that like when Carol's alone in her house, unless someone's literally babysitting with her, Carol could always slit her throat or blow her head off, and nothing a pluribi could do would stop that.
To me, it was when she ran in front of the plane. I'm like, that thing could crush her. Would they grab her and pull her back, or she gets sucked into an engine, right? Like,
right. Yeah. I don't know. All fascinating questions, though. Indeed. And then, I mean, I don't mean to cut off the discussion if you got other things you want to talk about.
My last note is this show is going to be hot. That's it. Oh, yeah. That's all I got. So
this is old school bald move, man. This like all started me and Jim sitting on the couch talking about Breaking Bad, the latest episode of Breaking Bad, and what we thought it meant, and what are all these bears floating in pools, and we're back in Vince Gilligan land, baby, on totally uncharted territory. It's like, Better Call Saul always felt like a map that you had explored, and you maybe go down different, but this is a completely different animal, and I'm really excited by it. The other thing I thought was interesting, I guess, is Kumba putting her back on her feet because she's getting high dudgeon about him using these women as sex slaves and not caring about the agency and what, and she's getting pissed and she's yelling and screaming, and he says, you know, I don't know about all that, but I know the last thing these people need is for you to lose your temper again. And it instantly brings her to heel, which is why sometimes that's a really effective abuse tactic. I'm going to kill myself if you don't date me. I'm going to hurt myself if you don't date me. It's like, fuck, dude. Not my fault. And then the other thing, I guess, is they play us out with, I don't know what language or version, but what's apparently Nobody Ever Told Me by John Lennon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I think this is from the like Harold's perspective, looking at the pluribus, because everybody's talking but no one says a word. You know, that's a psychic connection. Everybody's making love but no one cares. Like, I don't think pluribi want to have individual sex. It's probably something that they do, like, hey, find the healthiest genetics and to make more to keep the body going. But yeah, always something happening and nothing going on. Because that's the other thing I thought. What is, like, there's all this activity, but what is it leading to? Like, what does the pluribus want to do? Does pluribus want to explore space? Does it want to, what does it want to do? Because, like, so art is so much of a human experience, and the one thing we don't see any of these people doing is making art, because what the fuck would even be the point?
Yeah, there wouldn't be a point as a collective mind.
But maybe that's individual organism chauvinism. Like, I make art, I'd make art even if no one was to see it. Like, you know, Tom Hanks drew Helen Hunt when he was alone on the island. Like, maybe they do make art for their collective enjoyment and expression.
Maybe Jadis will show up in this show and we can get some trash art. That'll be fun.
Anything else you want to say, or should we kick this pig into outro mode?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's get to next week.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to send us feedback, I'm sure we're going to get a lot of it. Pluribus@baldmove.com. Can't wait to see what people think, because that's the other exciting thing about a brand new show. Is like, me and Jim talk what you thought. But we have no idea. This is so new. I have no idea what people think, and they did a really good job of keeping the wraps on this tight. Pluribus@baldmove.com. And if you'd like to support us, go to support.baldmove.com, and you can get, if nothing else, ad-free feeds. And we have all kinds of bonus content. We just did a first run review of Predator Badlands last week. We're doing The Running Man this week. Got a whole Christmas extravaganza exclusively for club members. Tons of stuff. Check us out. Support.baldmove.com. I think you'll like it. And also, if you are hungry for a place to discuss Pluribus with some smart, aware fans, we have a nice Discord. Discord.baldmove.com. Stop on by. Head to our Pluribus channel and see what's up. Thank you for listening. Once again, pluribus@baldmove.com to email, support.baldmove.com to get to support us. Until next week, I remain the individual known as Aaron.
And I'm part of the collective known as Jim.
But for how long? See you next week.